Hey, BOFers, Peter Ver here at New York Comic Con 2019 with Marie. I screwed it up already. What is it?
Don't worry about it. Avdropolis.
Avdropolis at the Step and Repeat interviews for Wonder Woman Bloodlines. You are voicing Silver Swan.
I sure am.
What is it that attracted you to being the villain?
I love playing the villain. It's always more interesting to play the villain, in my opinion, and I'm so honored to be a part of this project because it's my very first animated feature ever that I've participated in. So to be in a project such as Wonder Woman Bloodlines, playing such an iconic character with such a big following, I'm super stoked and honored.
So you're usually doing like live action stuff. What is it like doing just voice work now? Like now that you're diving into this, what is that experience like for you?
Yeah, I'm glad that I get to be creative in such a different way. I'm so used to using my body to tell a story, and now I get to, use my voice, and it's a completely different experience, but it turned out really well, and the fans are just going to love it, and it's dropping today, so get ready. Yeah.
Are you familiar with the source material? Was there anything Silver Swan that you had to look into to do some research and get a real take on this character?
Yeah, I had to do some research on the Sonic Scream, and it was really fun to try to channel that one. But they can be the judge of that. It turned out pretty good.
Is there a specific scene that really stands out for you?
I liked playing the younger version of her because I got to find her young voice and then switch to her older voice, which is much different. So to, have her age through the years and keep it consistent was something that stood out for me.
That's great. We're looking forward to the film, and thank you for your time.
I can't wait.
Hi, I'm here with Marigold Scott, Batman on Film, Ryan Haas. What kind of process did you have to do to adapt this into a screenplay?
Yeah, hi. So I'm the screenwriter for Wonder Woman Bloodlines, and this was a really finely tuned project. I wanted this to be a film that could stand on its own. We knew it had to line up in continuity with the other animated films. I wanted to make sure that if you'd only seen the live action film, this felt like not like a totally different character. And also, there was a lot of comics that I really loved that had Wonder Woman in them that I wanted to kind of spread those stories out. So just a lot of brainstorming, a lot of picking and choosing, and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
Awesome. So were there moments that you got to put in the screenplay that you were really happy to make focal points? Yeah. Oh my God. There's a really fun one early on in the film where, Wonder Woman is brought to man's world, and because she's new to it, they decide to, Steve Trevor and the government decide that they're going to have her stay with an archaeologist because that's someone who's familiar with her world. And so there's a scene of the archaeologist and her daughter Vanessa trying to get the house ready because a literal princess is coming. And there's a great moment where Wonder Woman walks in and she sees the daughter Vanessa has a broom that she's sweeping up with, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I'll help." And I just thought that was such a great little moment of that's who Diana is. And she's like, "Oh, we're cleaning. Okay, cool. I'll help out." And of course Vanessa's mom is like, "You can't have the princess help clean the house." That's the thing. So you've written a lot, but you've written Batgirl, the Batgirl comic book, and you've written episodes of Justice League Action and stuff. How is it different adapting something for those mediums versus a movie like this?
Well, you definitely have a lot more space to breathe in an animated film, and there's a lot more dialogue, honestly, so there's a lot more talking, and we can really sort of dig down into the feelings a little bit more than in some of my comics work, especially because my comics work tends to be very insular, from the main character's point of view, and so that was really interesting. Also, I kind of got a little bit of a second bite at the apple because I did a short comic for the Wonder Woman 75th annual where she fights Giganta, and I had to cut so much out for time, and then I got to write this movie, and I was like, can she fight Giganta again? Because I have some ideas. And they let me, so I was very excited.
So last question, since we're our Batman on Film, is there any major Batman things that you'd like to kind of tackle in a story someday?
Oh, gosh, Batman does a lot of cool things. I guess I always thought his relationship with Talia, especially because, like, she really violated him, you know?
It's an understatement.
Yeah, like, I always wanted to give him a little more room to process that trauma. And what happens when a kid shows up on your doorstep and, like, that kid's an innocent, like, he's not involved, but he's a messed up kid, and it's like and that kid's the product of something terrible that happened to you, and a loss of control for a character that is completely about
That's him.
control. Yeah. And so I always thought that was such an interesting wound to poke at, which I would love to poke at because I'm a bad person, and that's why I write comics.
Well, Batman is trauma. He takes the trauma and he turns it into something. So that's fantastic. So I can't wait to see Wonder Woman Bloodlines. So is there anything that you hope, major thing that you hope people take away from the film?
I wanted to show that having ideals and living up to your ideals are not the same thing, and that it's a lot harder when the rubber meets the road to do the right thing, and how heroic that really is. I think a lot of people dismiss, characters who aren't emotionally traumatized, which, I mean, we all love emotional trauma, but characters who just do the right thing because of their own inner moral compass. And I wanted to show that, like, that's really difficult. There's a whole kind of drama in that itself. So I really hope that comes through in our film.
Well, I definitely can't wait to see it, and hopefully we can discuss it later once it comes out. So thank you. Appreciate it so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
What's going on, BatmanOnFilm.com? Peter Ver here at New York Comic Con with Courtney Taylor and Mojan Marno. First try.
First time. Well done.
Dr. Cyber and Dr. Poison. What is it like playing two more villains in this movie?
Glorious.
Glorious?
Mm-hmm. I only like to play bad people.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that are you concerned that there's too many villains in the movie? Swan, you two, no?
No. Like female villains, bring them on. More.
Girl power all the way, huh?
Yeah, I mean,
There's
nobody.
more to fight.
And
There's
also,
more
nobody
conflict.
says that about a male-centric movie. Like, hey, do you think there's too many bad guys? It's like there's just good and evil, and it's carried out
and
perfectly.
It's more for Wonder Woman to fight against,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
How did you come up with the voices for your characters? Was there anything that inspired you? Did you try to create some kind of special tone or anything?
When I came in for the role, we talked about doing a sort of German accent, and that she was a little bit creaky. So we kind of worked it out in the booth. Actually,
Are you
I didn't
German
get
in
to.
this?
It's a smidge.
Is it because Germans are so evil?
Smidgy?
Because they have kind of a bad rap from a certain
I
war?
don't know. They just said do an accent. I mean, it was
You just randomly
no.
determined.
No, we did work it out. My director and her director, Wes Gleason, director extraordinaire. We worked it out while I was there, and Sam and James chimed in a little bit, and we tweaked it, and away we went.
Did you guys go back to source material to just dig deeper on the characters? Did you look at the movie Wonder Woman and get inspired from Dr. Poison and that? What was the background that went into just full-fletching into these characters?
I just went in and recorded my character. I did not read the comics.
I went and saw actually on the internets. There's the night that the Wonder Woman movie opened a couple of years ago. There was like 90 of us that there were a bunch of voice actors. We all got together and went and saw it at the ArcLight in Los Angeles. And so I saw it the opening night. It was fantastic. I went and saw it again with my nephews. So I knew from that movie, but her source material is kind of all over the place. Like she's had a lot of different iterations.
I watched the 80s television show with, what was her name, Linda
Carter.
Yes.
Linda Carter. I have a picture of me and Linda Carter on my phone. I do.
So I watched that.
So it's safe to say you grew up as Wonder Woman fans?
Oh, for sure.
Oh my God. I did a little game called Fallout 4, and Linda Carter is actually in Fallout 4. And when we did the drop night party, I was like, I have to meet her. And so they brought her over to me, and she was totally like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. And I was like, no. And my friend chased her, and I was like, no, you have to take a photo with my friend. So I have a picture where I'm like, my face is cracking off with joy, and she's like, because I probably am holding her hand just a little too tightly. But
She's great.
I loved her.
How excited are you for the release of this film? It's been 9 years since a solo animated Wonder Woman movie. How great is it to be a part of this?
I'm excited. I think it's really great to be part of this.
I'm super. I think that this whole franchise is amazing, and I love being able to be a teeny part of it. I, loved Wonder Woman since I was a little kid,
Yeah.
so any part that I can have, and I'm totally lobbying for a Dr. Poison origin story,
I mean,
just
Wonder Woman
standalone.
is super important, right? Like there were 10,000 male superheroes, and then we had one. I mean, I remember there was like He-Man and She-Ra. She-Ra, I remember being blown away by after I watched He-Man Forever, and then there was She-Ra, and the same thing with Wonder Woman. It's like you get a chance to see yourself in a story.
Fun fact, and I'm going to just... here's the thing. With superhero movies, live-action movies, I'm always like, God, there's so much... there's a lot of special effects, which are amazing, and a lot of fighting. And it was so interesting to watch Wonder Woman, because I was like, oh, the fighting doesn't bother me. It doesn't seem like it's too long or anything like that. And I walked away from it being like, I wonder if... because she's a woman and she's fighting, I am having the experience that boys have had the whole
Where
time
you're,
of being
like,
like,
in
I'm
it.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could be that.
Yeah, you put yourself
Where
in the
when
role of the
I'm
protagonist.
looking at Batman and stuff, I'm not relating as much on some level. And to be able to see a woman doing it, I was like, oh, this is really interesting. And there was that sort of transference, if you will.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's, I'm sure it's going to have a great effect on young girls to see more and more of these things. She-Ra, getting an animated series and all that kind of stuff, that how girls will grow up with these things
it's
being
so
mainstream
important.
entertainment.
It's incredibly important.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to the film. I can't wait to see it. Thank you for your time. It's been a blast.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Thank you. What's going on, Batman on Film? Here with a very special guest of mine, Sam Liu. Sam, how are you?
Great. Always good to see you.
It's a pleasure. Sam, it's been 9 years since the last Wonder Woman animated movie. What has changed? What is different about this Wonder Woman? What can I expect?
This movie is the in continuity movie, so it, starting from that, I think it answers certain questions and it maybe raises other ones, But this is a Wonder Woman that we've sort of seen. So this movie, I think, it's a movie that's sort of between a time that has already passed, kind of a thing. It's between some of the older movies, kind of. It's an introduction, but it's also a catching up kind of thing, right? So this movie sort of jumps in time a little bit, I don't know, it's weird because, like most of the fans, when you hear that, okay, there's going to be a Wonder Woman movie, when I first heard that, okay, the next movie you're going to work on is a Wonder Woman movie, my expectations was one thing, right? But when I read it, I was just like, oh, this is a little bit more nuts and bolty than it is this big one epic adventure, And when I had talked to James about it, he was kind of explaining what his plan was for it, right? So this is supposed to be sort of an introduction of the Wonder Woman cast of people, her villains, and the people that surround her life. And the story itself is, I think, more of an emotional story. I think it's a thing I guess the theme of it is sort of it's about mothers and daughters. I feel like part of it has to deal with her leaving Themyscira and how the way the story goes, she has to return to Themyscira, and so it's about this sort of guilt a little bit of her leaving, her island, but also sort of she doesn't really know how she's going to be accepted when she comes back, kind of a thing, But so on top of that, also is it deals with one of her villains that starts off when she was younger, and what the things that happened with her, but why she became a villain, because they were sort of friends when they were younger, kind of a thing. So her being sort of like a mentor to this girl, and sort of seeing her life sort of take this turn, and her being blamed by something I don't want to really. It's a spoiler thing.
We don't like those.
Yeah. So it's a lot more sort of emotional. I kind of feel like, It's about, again, it's just about Wonder Woman as a daughter, as a mentor, but also being this hero, but also sort of having this family that she's her life is kind of intertwined with, and things that have happened there, and the guilt of her. So it's I think it's a very emotional story about, again, her reconciling with her family, and this young person that is a villain, and reconciling with her mother as well. So I think that's the heart of this movie. So it's definitely different than the first one, I think.
You mentioned the villains. You got Dr. Poison, Dr. Cyber,
Right.
Silver Swan. You worried about too many villains?
Sort of, but I think that the way that they're integrated is pretty smart, in that there's sort of just these side events that kind of happen. The Victoria Kale, the Dr. Poison, Dr. Cyber kind of thing is a little bit more integral, but it leads to something else kind of a thing. So, yes, there's a lot, and I think. But again, that was the thing that I think James was sort of talking about, right? It's like how, with Superman, his rogues gallery. With Batman, his rogues gallery and his, his support group of characters, But Wonder Woman kind of, I don't think a lot of people, I don't think it's really been explored much, especially in animation. And so I think he wanted to just do a movie that sort of explored her, mythology of characters and stuff like that a little bit more.
Bloodlines drops soon. Wonder Woman 84 is coming out. We're not going to have to wait another 9 years for another animated Wonder Woman, are we, Sam?
Well, again, the hope is, I think, this was going to be a movie that sort of, opened up the world for Wonder Woman a little bit. And so hopefully, if we're allowed to, we'll tell more stories that this will be sort of a jumping off point to.
Will we see her come back in her more traditional outfit as opposed to this new 52 look she's been rocking for a little bit?
That would be a spoiler, and I thought you said you hated them.
Okay, all right, there you go. I answered my own question. I appreciate it, Sam.
Thank you.
As always, it's a pleasure. I love your work.
Thank you
very
you
much.
so much. Thanks for watching and being a fan.
Always.
Thanks.